With a special report from the Hudson Valley, I'm DeBar. While the nation is reeling from the shock of the verdict in the Sean Bell case, in the Hudson Valley there have been a number of deaths at the hands of police in the city of Newburgh, 5 in the past 2 years, that have not even resulted in charges, let alone acquittals. And all of this based almost exclusively upon police testimony about what happened that resulted in the deaths of these 5 young men. But a case in Newburgh City Court earlier this month involving 3 young white men has put these other cases back in the spotlight as the police were caught lying on the witness stand and in their official reports by a videotape. This is attorney Michael Sussman talking about some of the lies, and then a pair of local activists who lost a son and grandson, respectively, talking about the other cases. This is where the van was.
Out. The man was further up, didn't blast the pumps like this, it was more over here. They dragged him out, they beat one man on this side, and they dragged the other man out on this side. The blood was in this area, they used this bucket over here, see there's a bucket, and they poured the bucket over the blood. Here's the bucket. That's the bucket they took, and in this area on the film you can see them dumping the bucket over the blood and using a squeegee move the blood. We go across the street.
Say that again.
This gentleman testified that from inside there, he was able to see inside the store. Is absolutely impossible. The police said that Mr. Carlson was not bleeding inside, but he started bleeding outside the van. These are photographs inside the van, showing Carlson's blood inside the van. Here's the door of the van open. This is inside the van. On the back of the seat, he was bleeding inside. He was attacked inside the van. You can see the blood. These are pictures inside the van, actually. This is Fahey. Fahey's the one who was beaten by the lieutenant right out near that first pump. You can see his eye. You can see his ear. He was smashed in the eye and the face. You can see this area of his eye and face, as well as, obviously, more obviously, perhaps this area and this area. And the police indicated that during the trial, this man injured himself by knocking his head against a grate area inside of what's called the fishbowl at the booking area in the police precinct. You watch for about an hour when he's in the fishbowl, and you never see his head making any contact with that grate. And there's actually a camera right on the grate, and there's never any contact made between his head and that grate. He's angry. He's kicking the grate because he doesn't understand why he's in there. But that's about as far as it went. This is a report which was provided. It's called The Primary Narrative. It was written by Michael Saldano, who was one of the junior police officers there. He wrote that upon arrival at the headquarters, A1, who's this gentleman, Mr. Fahey, quote, became so violent, kicking and attempting to destroy department property, he was temporarily placed in a fishbowl while still secured with handcuff restraints. Untrue. The videotape shows that this man did not destroy any department property, did not try to, did not start kicking, did not get violent at all. At one point, after about 7 minutes in the facility, in the booking room, he stood up and started talking with an individual who then forcibly sat him down and a few moments later you see him being pushed into this fishbowl area. When I asked this man where did he get this information that he was attempting to destroy departmental property, and what property, he said somebody else told him. And when you asked who, he didn't know who. Further says here, A3, which is a reference to Mr. Carlson, the gentleman whose blood is on the car here, says this: began to throw punches at officers Rose and Akampora as soon as his handcuffs were removed while in booking. And we have the removal of the handcuffs on the videotape, and it shows his handcuffs were removed. He didn't throw a punch at anybody. He just very calmly walked behind this gentleman, Mr. Rose, or the police officer, over toward a sink area in the booking. This is a total fabrication. And when asked about this fabrication, Rose couldn't explain why this was in the report. Akampora was never called as a witness. The writer, Soldano, doesn't know where he got the information. And this went on in that kind of a manner.
So I'm with Omar Shakur, who is the father of Antonio Bryant, who was killed by the Newburgh police on October 30th of 2006. So we just heard from a brief description from Michael Sussman of some of the things that happened in the Fahey case that was decided a week and a half ago. And there have been 5 deaths involving the police since 2005. You can talk about those cases a little bit.
Basically, yes, since March 2005, we have 5 cases of people who have died at the hands of the police, starting with Deontay Jones in March 2005. It was a young kid that was in a car. He supposedly went through a stop sign. The police chased him. They gave chase, and sometime during the chase, one of the police cars hit the back of his car and flipped it over, and it caught on fire, and basically let the kid burn up. They didn't try to extract him from the car or anything like that. They just let him burn. So that was the first case we knew of.
What was the outcome of that case?
Right now, justifiable homicide as far as we know, but there's a civil suit pending.
Okay.
Then after that, we flash forward to 2006. October, my son, Antonio Bryant, was shot in the so-called police shootout, where my son got shot in the back of the head in the middle of one of the crowded streets of Newburgh. There were no bullets found from a gun my son supposedly fired on this crowded street, but the only bullets that were found were the 2 in the back of his head and the one in the back of he got shot in the arm. So then after that,
what was the outcome of that case?
Outcome justifiable homicide. Then we fast forward, we had a hanging in February of 2007. That was Luke Ward. He was found in his cell approximately an hour after he was arrested, 5 o'clock in the morning, for a domestic dispute with his wife.
What was the outcome of that?
Justifiable. From Orange County grand jury, but the state did some type of hearings or whatever, and it was supposedly they found wrongdoing on the police department as far as procedure and stuff like that. Then we go to July. Kevin Brown was found hanging in his jail cell. In fact, no, before Kevin Brown, Nathaniel Cobbs on Clark Street, 8 police officers, the dogs. This guy was supposed to have been high on PCP, having an argument with his girlfriend. They said the dog bit him one time, they tased him one time, and he died from a enlarged heart from the PCP, they said. But that was a justifiable homicide. Then we go to the end of that month, July of 2007. There was another person found hung in the cell. It was Kevin Brown. A guy, he supposedly made a drug buy, but because he didn't turn the drugs over to the police, they left him in the cell, and he had the drugs on him. He supposedly had swallowed them, and he was in the cell screaming for like an hour or so, man, for the police to let him out, and he died in his cell. And that was another case that was tried by grand jury. It was found to be a justifiable homicide, if I'm not sure. But like that was part of the hearing from the state that came in, and they said there was some wrongdoing on the police department's part. But as of yet, no police have been indicted. Nobody has been taken to court or anything. And then basically that was the 5 cases we're talking about coming up to the Tahiti house. But we have numerous tasing cases. We have numerous dog biting cases. Numerous cases people beat up by the police. Some of them scared to come forward. But we have basically what we have in Newburgh is the police out of control, and not just in Newburgh. This is going all around the country, as you said, with Sean Bell, with numerous incidents around the country that some of them we haven't even heard of unless you live there.
So Sean Bell right now is in the, big in the media because of the decision on Friday that returning no indictments or returning no convictions rather against the 3 police officers who were responsible for shooting him 50 times, or for shooting 50 times at him and killing him. What would you say to people who are listening or maybe sensitized to this issue now about what's going on up here?
Well, what I could say is people have to start getting involved. One of the things we're going to try to do this summer is we're going to try to do some protesting as far as against the waterfront in the city of Newburgh. That's where most of the money comes in, situated, and we figure if we're going to get any type of response from the city, we have to do some protesting, and people have to come out and make their voices heard and say that enough is enough. This has to stop.
With the problem with the police in the city of Newburgh, the people in New York today are calling for, I know Norman Siegel and some folks from 100 Black Men in Law Enforcement, the state senator, talking basically about reviving the old state commission on corruption and expanding its power so that it will be the prosecutor basically in cases involving police misconduct and any killings involving police, and also they would be responsible for securing the crime scene rather than, involving a local police killing rather than that police department. What do you think about that?
Sounds good in effect, but like I said, it's been going on for 400 years. This didn't just start yesterday. And basically, I hate to say it, but maybe we need to get back to the Black Panther days. Because one of the things I feel right now, protesting and stuff is not getting it. Until something happens to a cop, then that's how I feel about it right now. Right now, because economics in this country right now is keeping people so out of touch with what's happening. The police are doing what they want to do. And I hate to say it like that, but there's no other recourse. I mean, it's been, like I said, this has been going on forever. And the only time we get a response if something happens to one of them, then there's going to be dialogue or something will happen. And I'm not saying go out and kill a cop, but what I am saying, something has to happen to one of them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I'm with Lily Howard, who is Antonio's grandmother, and has been active dealing with this stuff now for some 40 years. What do you have to say about, first about the Fahey case and what that means for the, for the other deaths at the hands of police over the last 5 years that resulted in no charges so far?
Well, I feel the Fahey case, what happened with that case, the way we saw what was going on in the video in that case, I feel that hopefully this will be the case that will start things moving forward in reference to the way the police department here in the city of Newburgh has been dealing with its citizens down throughout the years. I heard my son cite all the different ones recently, but this is not the first time that the Newburgh Police Department has taken a life and nothing has been done about it. Several times it has happened down throughout the years. I indict my community for the simple fact no one stands up, says anything. Your ministers, your NAACP, your upstanding citizens, no one says anything. I feel that, take for instance, and this is going on throughout the country, I feel the 50 shots wouldn't have happened if the 1 or 2 shot situations had been addressed down throughout the years. Many of our young African American men, mostly men, have been killed by the police. But because it wasn't 50 shots or 40 shots, what it was with the other gentleman, Amada Diallo, no one says anything. And it's because of it's an indictment, a sad indictment on our communities throughout the nation. Until we become concerned about our children, and I'm not saying all of them are perfect, but I do say that because I see what they're saying about the young men with the Sean Bell case about, they were criminals or whatever the indictments they said about them. It matters not. They're human beings. And until we place significance upon our children, we're going to continuously lose them. If a crime has been committed, let it go through the system. Take it through the system and let the courts decide. I don't feel the police should be judge and jury and also murderers.
What do you think about this proposal that Siegel and the others have for having a statewide investigative body for killings involving the police?
This is what we were saying back when my grandson had gotten killed. First of all, I was listening to Open Line this morning, and they brought out some things that we had said during my grandson's case. The fact the police department should not be involved investigating a case which involves police. They need to bring outsiders in to do the investigation. That's the very thing we said about when my grandson Antonio was killed. The police were bringing witnesses down to the police department, questioning them. That was wrong. I cited it then, and I thank God I'm hearing them bringing it forth now that the police should not be investigating themselves. So yes, we need special prosecutors. We need the Justice Department to get involved in these situations. And until that's done, we're going to see business as usual going on in our communities. And I'm going to tell you, this Sean Bell, the results of this case, we better be very concerned. Because if 50 shots doesn't matter, to me, this gives the police carte blanche to do whatever they want to do to our children. And so we as parents, we had better get involved. Because if we don't, business is going to continue as usual and more lives are going to be lost. And let me say this. Because a young person might have done wrong, it still does not mean that their lives should be taken. And truth be told, a whole lot of them have done wrong. The very ones who are making those accusations against our children, a lot of them have dirty hands. So I feel that everything happens for a reason. I really believe the timing, everything, like when Antonio got killed, it was a week later that the Sean Bell week, not more than 2 weeks later, that the Sean Bell case happened. So everything has been happening here, until finally, after all this, when they see that 50 shots doesn't matter, now all of a sudden people are waking up to the hardcore reality which has been in evidence all down the line. Black life doesn't matter. And until we become concerned and say our children do matter, business is going to go on as usual. And I am saying for our black representatives, politicians, ministers throughout the country, everyone has to join hands and get involved. Because if we don't, and I know Dr. King is looking down on us and just shaking his head to see, here we are, 2000, 2008, nothing's changed. In fact, things have gotten worse, because at least when he was here, people were involved. Everybody's went to sleep. They always want to talk about the dream. Every year they talk about Dr. King's dream. Well, don't they realize he didn't mean for it to continue to be a dream? He meant for it to be turned into a reality. But we, every year, the dream, the dream, the dream, the dream, the song we sing, we shall overcome one day. Well, when is that day going to come? When is that day going to become a reality? How many more of our children are going to have to be lost before we turn that dream into a reality? Because the bottom line is the very things that Dr. King was talking about. Economics, jobs, decent housing, all these things. We still see it's the same conditions now that were then. And these are the things, as you know, poverty leads to crime. All the situations that we have going on in the community is going on because of the resources are not being funneled into the communities to bring about the change that Dr. King spoke so significantly about. And if I sound passionate, I am passionate. I'm very passionate. It's going to take people becoming passionate about what's going on to us as a people in this United States of America. And until we become passionate, you're not going to see anything change. Let this have been happening to white kids. Let this have been happening to white kids, the police doing to white youth what has been going on with our black youth. And you can best believe you would have seen a change. So we have to be as concerned about our children as they are about theirs. And until we are, hey, bang, 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 more shots, more lives gone down the drain. How many lives who we know might have been another king, might have been somebody who would be able to discover something that would help humanity. How many of those lost lives? We don't know what they could have been if they had been allowed to remain alive.
A videotape of the interviews, including the pictures being referenced by Mr. Sussman, and the scene, is available at YouTube at www.youtube.com under Newburgh Police and Suspicious Deaths. Again, that's www.youtube.com under Newburgh Police and Suspicious Deaths. We have been following this for the past 18 months, and we will continue to do so until justice is served. From the Hudson Valley, I'm Don DeBar.